Hi, welcome to Unit 8, Surface Area. This is the lesson screen, and on the lesson screen, we are going into Cornell notes to get you all ready for high school and 8th grade, and then going into college. These are the type of notes that you'll be seeing. So they wanted us to switch to more Cornell note style. Instead of having you add everything in there, this rest of this year, I'm just kind of exposing you guys to it so you'll understand it when you see it next year. You'll see it in high school. And for my next classes, I'll be having them actually write stuff in if we're not as remote as we are this year, because it gets a little bit hard trying to go back from screen to screen and trying to go through everything. So I've tried to make it a little bit easier. However, I did want you to be involved a little bit. So what I need you to do is go up here to zoom in, and we're going to review this really quickly. Lateral face is one of your vocabulary words, and that means it's a face of a prism or a pyramid that is not a base. A base is what we had talked about in volume, identifying the bases. So for instance, we're going to be down here and we're going to be coloring the bases and faces, and we'll do that in a minute. So a base is a face or a side of a three-dimensional figure by which the figure is measured or classified. Measured meaning like for volume, or classified so that way we know the name. For instance, this is a rectangular prism because the bottom of it is rectangular. This is a square prism because the bottom is a square, and actually a cube because the whole thing's a cube. This would be a triangular prism because the bottom is a triangle. And this is a square pyramid or rectangular pyramid because the bottom's a rectangle. And this is a triangle pyramid because the bottom or the base is a triangle. Lateral area is the sum of all the areas. So you have to solve for area of the lateral faces of the prism or pyramid, not including the bases. The surface area or total surface area is the sum of all of the faces and bases and every single side. And that's something that we're going to go over in this lesson. So just remember, lateral surface area is faces. Total surface area is faces and bases. So that's a good way to remember that. So we're going to shade the bases of the three-dimensional figure blue and the lateral faces red. So let's see if we can go in here. What I'd like to do is try and do the shapes. I know some people actually use the writing tools, and I'm not very big on that. So what we need to do is I can just come in here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. If you move this little orange square here, it kind of tilts it a little bit. And then I need to make that blue. There we go. So it's good enough. So now if I click on it with two fingers, I can go scroll up to copy. And then I'm just going to click over here. See, it's not perfect, but that's okay. That's my base. And I'm going to hit paste, and it's going to make another one. I'm going to come up here and move that up there. Those are my two bases. And then I'm going to go over to my little tool here. Now, if that bothers you that it's like that, you can play with it. I mean, it's really not that important as long as you have it kind of in the right area. I'm going to go over here to my writing tool again. And this right here would be a face. That would be my first face. I'm going to go and I'm going to copy and paste it. Whoops, let's click paste. And I'm going to have another face here on the back side, which would cover the whole back. They're actually getting hard to see here. You know what? We're going to change this a little bit. We're just going to number them in red. How about we do that so we can actually see them? So you can continue to actually, oops, stop doing that. You can continue to actually color them if you want, or if you, like me, are having a hard time trying to see what you're doing, just number it. So I'm going to number this, but then I will actually make my number red so it follows along the same lines. So if I wanted to do that, let's see if I can actually see what I'm doing here. Make that a little bigger. So, okay, so now I can move it over like that. So now I can do a copy and paste. So there's one side, because there's going to be 4 sides to this. And so I'm going to take this number 1 and I'm going to move it to the back over here. And that's going to be my number 2 because that's the back side. And then I'm going to copy and paste it again. And I have a third side right here. And then I have a fourth side, which is this side in the front. So copy and paste. So I'm going to have a fourth side that's right here on the front. I don't want you to think that that's on that blue. It's actually on this front side right here. So I have this front side here, this side right here, this back side back here, and this side right here. So there are 4 faces and 2 bases. So if we wanted to stay consistent, let's sit here, whoops, and stay consistent with this. If you don't like using, I'm not going to be able to do it. Hold on, let me move my 4. There we go. If you wanted to stay consistent, and let's say you wanted to number your bases, you can do that as well. So let's go over here to our text box and just make sure it's in blue. So we have 1, and we're going to move it in just a second, because sometimes the writing or the coloring tool is hard for people. So I have 1, and then we're going to go down here. So I have 1, and then I have another 1, so 2. So I have 2 bases and 4 faces, which gives me 6 different shapes, or not different shapes, but 6 total shapes in here. There would be 4 longer rectangles, and then I have 2 of the shorter rectangles like that. So you want to go ahead and, instead of having me do it for every single one of them, which will take a long time in the video, go ahead and label all of the rest of your shapes. The bases are going to be the top and the bottom. Your faces are going to be all these sides. Your bases will be the triangle, both triangles here, and then the 3 sides are going to be your faces. Your base is just this shape here on both of your pyramids. Your faces are the triangles that go up to the peak. So you have 3 on this one, and you have 4 on this one. Okay, so you're going to do that. And now we see that a net. So that's all of these shapes. We opened them up. We kind of cut on all of these sides, and we opened up and laid them flat. So it's an arrangement of 2-dimensional figures that can be folded to form a polyhedron. That's what these are, or a 3-dimensional shape. So it says label the nets with the correct 3-dimensional shape they create. So we're no longer labeling faces and bases. We just want to know what this is called. So that would be a rectangular. I need to definitely make this smaller. So why don't I make all of these? Again, you can go up here to make the print smaller. And I'm going to go down to 8. It's going to drive my kids in class kind of crazy because it's harder to see. Rectangular prism. Whoops. And if it's still not fitting, you can even go down to 7. This is a triangular prism, and I need to make sure that's lowercase. And then I have you can have square pyramid, you can say rectangle pyramid, whichever one is fine. This is a triangle pyramid. And that's all you would need to do on there. So you would just click on it, and you would go ahead and just tell me what this is. Again, you can look on the sides here. We have 2 rectangles. We know it folds together to make a rectangular prism. My 2 triangles here tell me when this is folded up. It's a triangle prism. Here, it's a rectangular pyramid or square pyramid. Either one is correct. Since we don't have dimensions, we really don't know. And that folds up to this. And then I have my triangle pyramid, because that's what's telling me the shapes, the bases here. When it folds up, it goes into a triangle pyramid. And that is pretty much, let me go ahead and scroll out, pretty much all you're going to be doing right here. So when you look at this page, you should have 2 blue numbers here, 2 blue numbers here, or you can color it. Then you're going to have either 4 red numbers, 3 red numbers, or you're going to color it. The coloring, it just got a little crazy. We're going to be coloring with pencils in class. It's a little crazier to do it on the computer, I understand, and I'm sorry. So just do the best that you can. Just number the faces here, and then your bases. If it's easier, I'm going to tell you this. If it is easier to do it on the nets down here because it's easier to see, I will allow you to number them down here. Because what we're working with is the nets. So if you want to take your number 2 and say, you know what, Miss Young, I really am having a hard time labeling those shapes. So I'm going to bring it down here and I am going to label the shapes down here if that's okay. And you know what? That is okay because we're still going through the same process. So you can take these numbers and you can pull them all down here. And I didn't really until I started trying this, and that's where I figure out how hard it is. And when you guys reach out and go, this is a little bit too difficult. Sometimes things are difficult on the computer. So I'm really flexible on what we can do. So look, that was a whole lot easier to do. So if you want to just label them down here or color code them down here, that would be easier to do. I'm very flexible on this as long as you can understand where the bases and the faces are, and as long as you can understand these shapes are the same as these shapes, they're just flattened, then we're good to go. And like I said, we're going to be working with these nets anyway, so that works for me. Sorry this video went a little bit long, but again, I'm figuring these things out as I'm trying to instruct you guys at home. Please don't stress about it. If you do have any problems, reach out to me and let me know. All right, there's the next video for the next slide.